While many films have sparked debates over the decades, some did more than just ruffle feathers. They shattered norms, faced outright bans, and nearly brought the Hollywood system to its knees. Let's dive into 25 banned films that pushed Hollywood to the edge. The Outlaw, 1943. Howard Hughes wasn't just a filmmaker, he was a marketing mastermind. With The Outlaw, he made actress Jane Russell's curves the focal point of the film's promotion, which immediately triggered moral outrage. The film was deemed to violate decency standards of the time and faced a delayed release for nearly 3 years. But Hughes didn't step back. He leaned into the controversy, using it as fuel to spark public curiosity. By the time it hit theaters, people couldn't wait to see what all the noise was about. The strategy worked, and the film became a hit despite, or perhaps because of, its scandalous reputation. Scarface, 1932. Long before Al Pacino's version hit the screens, the original Scarface was stirring up chaos. Featuring intense violence and crime themes, the 1932 gangster film was so controversial that it became a catalyst for the introduction of Hollywood's production code in 1934. Italian-American groups were outraged by the stereotypes, and several states outright banned it. The film was edited and even retitled as Scarface, The Shame of the Nation, to tone things down. But Howard Hughes, again at the helm, pulled the edited version, unhappy with the censorship. The uncut version wasn't widely seen until after his death in 1976. Cannibal Holocaust, 1980. This one didn't just cross lines, it ran through them with a machete. Cannibal Holocaust was presented as found footage, claiming to show a missing film crew's final moments deep in the Amazon. The violence was so realistic that the director, Ruggero Deodato, was arrested and accused of creating a snuff film. Though he later proved the actors were alive, the scenes of real animal cruelty outraged audiences and activists worldwide. It remains banned or heavily censored in multiple countries to this day. The Exorcist, 1973. Some films aim to scare. The Exorcist haunted the world. From a young girl stabbing herself with a crucifix to rumors of a cursed film set, the movie was soaked in controversy. Linda Blair, who played the possessed child, even needed bodyguards after threats started rolling in. Critics accused the film of embedding subliminal messages, and the Catholic Church denounced its disturbing religious content. Despite calls for a ban, the film became a global phenomenon and still ranks among the most shocking horror films of all time. Citizen Kane, 1941. On the surface, Citizen Kane seems like a classic story of ambition and downfall. But when William Randolph Hearst realized the main character mirrored his own life, including a relationship with a talentless singer much like his own, he unleashed hell. He banned the film from being mentioned in his newspapers and pressured theaters not to show it. The film's initial performance suffered because of this media blackout, but over time, it found its place as one of the greatest films ever made. Triumph of the Will, 1935. Leni Riefenstahl's Triumph of the Will is as famous for its stunning visuals as it is infamous for its subject. A propaganda film glorifying Hitler and the Nazi regime, its influence on visual storytelling is undeniable. But so is its role in fueling fascist ideology. Even today, the film is banned in Germany due to its ties to Nazi propaganda, reminding the world of how cinematic brilliance can be weaponized. Dirty Harry, 1971. Clint Eastwood's gun-wielding cop, Harry Callahan, struck a nerve with his brand of vigilante justice. Critics labeled the film fascist and dangerous, claiming it glorified police brutality. In Finland, it was outright banned for mental health concerns. Though later released with cuts, the film's legacy as a gritty, politically charged action film remains intact. It also helped spark debates on law enforcement ethics that continue today. Song of the South, 1946. Disney has tried to bury this one for decades. Song of the South presented a romanticized version of plantation life, with deeply problematic racial stereotypes. Set during the Reconstruction era, it featured Uncle Remus, a cheerful black man telling stories to white children, as its central character. The NAACP and other civil rights groups protested heavily, and Disney eventually shelved the film indefinitely. Despite the popularity of its song Zip-a-Dee-Doo-Dah, the movie remains one of Disney's most controversial legacies. The Last House on the Left, 1972. Wes Craven's brutal debut was inspired by media coverage of the Vietnam War and its desensitizing effect. The film, which includes rape and torture, shocked audiences. Some theaters had to deal with vomit and walkouts, and others simply refused to show it. Though it made money, the backlash pigeonholed Craven into horror for years. Its raw portrayal of violence and justice remains unsettling even decades later. Midnight Cowboy, 1969. Imagine a film about a hustler and a sickly con man winning Best Picture. Now imagine it being rated X. That's Midnight Cowboy. Its open discussion of homosexuality, poverty, and male sex work was unheard of for the time. Despite the rating, it took home the Academy Award and signaled that cinema was finally growing up. The Devils, 1971. Ken Russell's The Devils was so graphic in its mix of sex, violence, and religion that it caused mass outrage. Depicting the life of a priest accused of witchcraft, the film was chopped up by censors everywhere and banned outright in Finland until 2001. Even today, the full version remains hard to find, but its reputation as one of the most provocative films in history is firmly in place. Life of Brian, 1979. Monty Python's satire about a man mistaken for the Messiah didn't attack Jesus directly, but that didn't stop religious groups from calling it blasphemous. Protests broke out across countries, and bans followed. Ironically, the controversy tripled its US theater count. Despite its rocky start, Life of Brian is now hailed as a sharp critique of blind faith and groupthink. Maniac, 1980. With scalpings, murders, and relentless gore, Maniac hit a nerve. The British Board of Film Classification refused to even rate it, which effectively banned it for over 2 decades. In the US, it had to be edited, and countries like Australia pulled it all together. Yet somehow, this bloody tale of madness became a cult favorite in the slasher genre. Freaks, 1932. Todd Browning's Freaks used real carnival performers with disabilities, and that alone shocked 1930s audiences. But it was the revenge scenes that truly unsettled people. One woman claimed the film caused her miscarriage. The studio pulled it, and it stayed buried until the 1960s, when counterculture movements embraced it as a misunderstood masterpiece. Bonnie and Clyde, 1967. Violence had never looked this glamorous. Bonnie and Clyde turned crime into art with slow-motion deaths and gunfights that felt uncomfortably real. The sexual tension between the lead characters only added fuel to the fire. Critics were split, but audiences couldn't get enough. It's now credited with ushering in a new era of bold, rule-breaking Hollywood. A Clockwork Orange, 1971. Stanley Kubrick's tale of ultra-violence and psychological conditioning left audiences and politicians deeply unsettled. Banned in several countries, the film was even pulled by Kubrick himself in the UK due to threats against his family. The film's complex take on free will and morality still provokes debate. The Moon is Blue, 1953. A comedy that caused chaos, The Moon is Blue did exactly that by daring to use words like virgin and mistress. The Hays Code tried to block its release, but director Otto Preminger pushed through. Despite the religious backlash, it was a success and helped loosen censorship's grip on Hollywood. The Birth of a Nation, 1915. A cinematic milestone, but also a historical stain. D.W. Griffith's The Birth of a Nation was technically revolutionary, but its racist portrayals and glorification of the Ku Klux Klan sparked protests across the country. The film's legacy is forever tied to both its cinematic breakthroughs and its dangerous propaganda. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, 1974. Despite its lack of actual gore, the gritty realism of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre made it feel far more brutal. Scenes like the murder of a man in a wheelchair were too much for many. Banned in the UK, Australia, and more, the film nonetheless changed horror forever with its raw, documentary-style terror. The Great Dictator, 1940. Charlie Chaplin's daring satire of Hitler in The Great Dictator faced resistance even before it was released. Many feared it would anger Nazi sympathizers or seem insensitive, but Chaplin stood firm, delivering a speech at the end of the film that remains one of cinema's most powerful anti-fascist moments. The Wild Bunch, 1969. Sam Peckinpah's The Wild Bunch didn't just show violence, it made viewers feel it. With its revolutionary editing and unflinching action, it redefined what Westerns could be. It faced ratings issues and moral criticism, but over time, its influence became undeniable. Straw Dogs, 1971. Another Peckinpah film, Straw Dogs hit harder than most. A harrowing home invasion story that includes a deeply controversial rape scene, the film was attacked for blurring the lines between victim and assailant. It faced bans and heavy edits, but still ignites debate about masculinity, violence, and revenge. I Spit on Your Grave, 1978. Perhaps one of the most divisive films ever made, I Spit on Your Grave was banned in multiple countries for its graphic scenes of sexual assault and revenge. Some called it empowering, others called it vile. Either way, it became an enduring and controversial staple of the exploitation genre. The Last Temptation of Christ, 1988. Martin Scorsese's take on Jesus Christ, portrayed with human flaws and desires, led to international protests. The idea of Christ imagining a life with Mary Magdalene angered religious groups. One theater was even firebombed in Paris. Still, it won praise for its artistry and bold interpretation of faith. The Man with the Golden Arm, 1955. Frank Sinatra played a heroin addict in a film that refused to sanitize its subject. When censors denied it approval, Otto Preminger released it anyway, challenging the Hollywood code. It was a bold move that paid off, paving the way for more honest depictions of addiction in film. These 25 films didn't just push boundaries, they kicked doors down and forced Hollywood to evolve. Whether through violence, taboo themes, or bold political statements, each one faced resistance. But in challenging the system, they changed it. They opened the door for future filmmakers to tell stories with honesty, complexity, and courage. Many were once buried in controversy, but time has proven their value, not just as movies, but as milestones in cinematic history. If you found this journey into banned Hollywood classics fascinating, don't forget to like, subscribe, and tap the bell so you never miss a dive into the wild side of film history.